Hi everyone, in today's hobby video I'm going to explore how not to get bored in the hobby of 40k. Games Workshop have done an amazing job creating the 40k hobby, and if their share price is anything to go by, they're making a lot of money out of it. But for us average punters, it can sometimes be overwhelming or unmotivating having to paint 100 guardsmen, being constantly defeated on the tabletop, or trying to get to grips with the overly complex lore that is a story of the grim dark future. So in this video, I'll explore different aspects of the hobby and give some ideas how to avoid boredom, stay motivated and ultimately have fun. Also include some ideas on how to save money too, as it can be in a very expensive hobby, or as comically described by one of my subscribers, 40 kidney, as you need to sell one of your kidneys to afford the hobby. The logical place to start is understanding the differing aspects of the hobby. I see it loosely segmented into three, being the hobby aspect, including assembling, kit bashing and painting, the tabletop game, and finally the lore and story of the 40th millennium. So we can start by asking what you enjoy the most or don't. And with the assistance of my overly fancy graph, you can see the three differing areas. So are you someone who thrives on list building, building unbeatable army combos, and keeping abreast of the latest competitive tournament results? Or are you really into the lore and story of the 40th millennium, having read every single book from the Black Library, or enthusiastically debating the differing opinions with friends or on Reddit? I personally really enjoy the hobby aspect, painting miniature after miniature, always trying to improve my painting and finding subtle ways to make miniatures look a bit different. I then enjoy in equal measure the two other aspects, listening to numerous audiobooks, but also throwing down dice, playing army lists that aren't overly competitive and still give a bit of a nod towards the lore. So I figure knowing where you sit will help keep you aware of potential burnout or plain boredom, and you can move to another area to help keep yourself motivated and interested. For example, I'm slowly painting a bandblade, which I'm finding, to be honest, fairly dull. Probably because I've already painted about 9 Astra Militarum vehicles, and I find their flat surfaces less appealing than a nice shiny gold finish of the Custodes army I'm also building. So to keep myself energized, I'm also painting some terrain, but also immersing myself in the Horus Heresy via audiobook. With the hobby aspect, unless you're planning to enter a tournament or enter a painting competition like Golden Demon, then I encourage you to take your time. Nothing worse than feeling pressured to paint 2,000 points of models, do a rush job, and then be forever dissatisfied that hundreds of pounds of minis aren't looking as sharp as you'd like. If you are stinging to play, then why not just battle it at the 500 point level for a while? 1,000 points a few months later, and then 1,500 points a few months after that, for example. But with the hobby aspect, you can of course go beyond just painting plastic miniatures for your army. You could explore Forge World kits, which even with their crazy price tags are actually quite hard to work with given that they are resin, so presenting a new challenge for you to work on. Or you could also explore third-party suppliers which produce alternate kits, a treasure trove for discontinued Astra Militarum armies. I personally also love kit bashing, and I feel proud to field units that look a little bit different to what's on the box. You don't need to go crazy with hobby saws or green stuff, as often just mixing kits can produce nice results. Another area to explore is terrain building. I'm the proud owner of a complete set of industrial terrain, built using styrofoam, card and grocery containers rendered with garden sand and PVA glue. There are some amazing terrain building channels on YouTube, and I've got some below in the video description. You don't have to spend much money, and it can be as basic or as elaborate as you want it to be. And if you're actually not that into the tabletop game, why don't you explore diorama building? I recently had the brainwave of building a diorama with an Imperial lighter, a landing pad, and a group of guardsmen marching in place to the transport, with a commissar and company commander seeing them off on an important mission. So enjoying the hobby aspect will be dictated by how much you enjoy the lore and how much you enjoy the tabletop game. If you just want to get straight into rolling dice, then why don't you buy a pre-painted army from someone who's getting out of the hobby selling their army on eBay? Or if you've got piles of cash, get an army commission painted. For some people, the prospect of stabbing themselves with a hobby blade and gluing their fingers together isn't their idea of fun. And if that's you, then I'd say look at ways to avoid it. At the end of the day, you're spending your money, so invest it in a way that makes sure you have the most amount of fun. And on the topic of money, if all you want to do is battle it on the tabletop, maybe experimenting with several different armies, and a possible route is the PC game Tabletop Simulator. It's a super cheap program where you can load 40k miniatures and play virtually. Given the UK has pretty much been locked down the last 12 months, I've been playing it a lot. It's no substitute for the real thing, but it's been great being able to experiment with different army lists and playtest a few units before I commit to buying them. There are active Discord servers where you can quickly find an opponent to play. I've played a lot of different people, of which some actually don't own any models, only wanting to play on Tabletop Simulator, developing unbeatable army list combos. If however you're a bit more centered like I am, I think watching battle reports and tactics channels is a nice way to keep your mind sharpened tactically. I definitely think 40k is like any other sport, where continuous repetition makes you a better player. I think if you're not playing at least once a fortnight, then probably going to be forgetting a lot of the nuances that make you a great player. And I say this because I've been playing a lot recently. Likewise with the game, there's nothing wrong just playing at the 500 or 1000 point level. 2000 point games are meant to take about 3 hours. However, in my experience, they take at least 4. 4 hours is a long time, and if you're a parent or just busy at work, dedicating 4 hours is a huge commitment. If you're an opponent or across the rules, a 500 point game can be knocked out in 60 minutes, and you could play several quick games with different lists over the course of an evening. Another area to explore is narrative play or crusade style games. 9th edition has seen a big focus on this, going as far as dedicated rules to support units becoming more experienced as they progress through the crusade, getting unique rules that improve them on the tabletop. This opens up a huge opportunity for storytelling, allowing you to create your own story or tie into the lore of the 40th millennium. Now the lore is one area you can get thoroughly immersed. As to where to start, don't forget the core rulebook and army codexes. Over half of the 9th edition rulebook is dedicated to the story of 40k, covering all armies, and likewise the codexes provide significant backstory of the relevant army, plus also detail for each unit. If you don't buy the rulebook or codexes, a free place to start is of course YouTube. There is a smorgasbord of channels covering the lore, including mine, with my lore videos desperately needing more views. Another place to discover the story is the countless publications by Black Library. They seem to constantly churn out new books, providing hard books, ebooks and audiobooks. There is both what's in the library currently, but numerous more to discover from the back catalogues, floating around on second-hand booksellers. But if, like me, you struggle to find time to read, then audiobooks, either direct from Black Library or via Audible, are a great solution.
And Creed's voice filled the silence. People of Cadia, brothers in arms, warriors, all of you. You ask me what I want from you. I shall tell you. But first, good news. Our forces are moving across many fronts. We are driving the enemy back.
And if you want to go a bit deeper into the lore, you could also check out Warhammer 40k Fandom, 40k Lexicanicon, or Reddit. Reddit presents opportunity to debate and explore the countless grey areas, like how much a Space Marine weighs, random. If you're however a bit more visually inspired, check out the numerous animated short films out there. To be honest, some of the best stuff out there recently has all been fan produced, with GW promising soon to release a dedicated video content platform. Although I'm personally pretty skeptical, as they've been talking about this for as long as I've been back in the hobby, which is now 2.5 years. GW recently took on board some of the very best fan creators, with their videos disappearing from YouTube, although other people have been reposting their videos, apparently all in the name of preserving these visual treasures. Another area outside of the traditional is PC and phone-based games. The Dawn of War series was perhaps one of the best 40k PC games, providing a real-time strategy game in the early 2000s. Some more recent titles include Battlefield Gothic and Space Hulk on PC, and the phone-based Space Wolf and 40k combat cards, which I both play, providing a great way to pass the time on boring work calls. These allow you to explore the story whilst not needing to buy books, roll dice or paint miniatures, and in an entertainment format that may be a bit more familiar. But a key point is that they are mostly Space Marine led, with only limited options for other 40k races. So with all those ideas, hopefully some are new to you, and give you opportunity to discover new areas of the hobby. Another overall area to quickly explore is what you enjoy from a social aspect. Are you a classic extrovert, being very social, or like me, quite introverted? Where this is important is not force-fitting yourself into one area which naturally over-indexes in either extreme. If you're an extrovert, Don't lock yourself away painting 200 Tyranid models. Instead, perhaps paint with friends or at your local GW or hobby store, COVID permitting. And on the flip side, if you're very introverted, be aware that going to a 2-day competitive tournament could be very hard work for you. I'm not saying to overly think this, but again be aware. It could be a way to add variety to the hobby, if being an extrovert trying to add a social aspect to discovering the lore, by debating online or with friends. Or for an introverted painter, maybe joining a club or posting on Instagram to share their projects. As said earlier, this hobby isn't cheap and you are spending your money. So let's spend it in a way that ensures you're enjoying it as much as possible. Right, so hopefully that was helpful and gives you some ideas to avoid boredom in the hobby of 40k. Let me know in the comments and share any ways you avoid boredom in the comments as well. If you enjoyed this and want to support me, you could do so with a like, comment or by subscribing. My channel is a variety channel for Astra Militarum and covers, funny enough, hobby, tactics and lore, so please subscribe for more. And if you really want to support me, you can do so on Patreon, a link is below. Thanks for watching. Patreon Platoon, sound off. Colour Sergeant DuPont, Sergeant Udall, Sergeant Gilliam, Sergeant Sims, Veteran Brady, Veteran Gibson, Veteran Hall, Veteran Lundeen, Veteran Mitchell, Veteran Witten.